Because you feel good and you have family and friends that are spun out in negativity and spun out in fear and spun out in frustration, and they are really suffering. And while you also suffer, that when you feel good and vibrant, you actually feel guilty. If you're raising your hand and you get what I'm saying, I'm here to help. I'm Dr. Kelly Martin Shue, Amazon bestselling author, speaker, and dating and relationship coach for women. And today I want to talk about this because it's a common theme that's coming up in so many of my conversations. And recently, I had a conversation with a woman who is doing so well in her business. And she asked me a question. She said, Dr. Kelly, why do I feel guilty when I feel so light and vibrant? And my coworkers and my friends and my family, many of them are spiraling out. Do I need to feel guilty? And my answer is absolutely not. You know, feeling good is a good thing. I'll tell you how I start my days. I'm starting my days every single morning during this pandemic with meditation. And many of these meditations I do in a global community, a global gathering. And as we gather, it's amazing connecting into other men and women from around the world that are committed to being the light, to shining the light into the dark places. It doesn't mean that you won't feel the darkness sometimes, and it doesn't mean that you won't feel the sadness. But on those days when you feel fantastic, this is a time where people need your energy. They need your support. They need your light. And so today I want to cover 3 things that you can do so that you still feel connected by those you love, but you're also able to help them, to support them, to reach down and lift them up. And I'll tell you one thing not to do. So let's say you are in a conversation with someone who is complaining and they're fearful and they're really in that dark place. Now, as a coach, my first inclination sometimes is to jump right in and to try to lift them up and pull them up higher. And what I'm learning more than ever during this pandemic is that it requires us to be with people, especially sometimes they don't want coaching. They don't want you to tell them, about all the bright, shiny things. What they want more than anything, the very first thing that they want is to feel heard. And so for first thing that you can do, if you find yourself in the situation where you're vibrating really high and you're feeling good, you're feeling your energy, you're feeling the rebirth, you're feeling all the positive things that give us pleasure, and you deserve that pleasure. And I challenge you to actually expand your capacity to feel pleasure, to feel love. Expand that capacity. So don't shrink. That's not what is needed here. But in step 1, if you come up against someone, especially someone that you deeply love, it's so easy to try to bring your energy down to meet theirs. And before you know it, you're just as sad and scared and in the darkness as they are. Hello, Kelly. Thank you for joining. Hey, I'd love to see some hearts and some thumbs up. So anyway, so the first step when you find yourself in this situation, you're up here, high vibe, feeling good, feeling fine, and you've got somebody down here, okay? The first step is not to try to close the gap. And it's also not to feel guilty and to shrink your light. The first step is to acknowledge that person for what they're feeling. And so all people want right now, yes, they want to feel better, but really what they want is they want to feel heard. So that's the first step. So if someone is letting you know about whatever is going on, right, with this, especially with this pandemic, you want to make sure that they feel heard. And one of the simplest ways to do that is actually to repeat back to them what you just heard. Or ask them, whatever it is that they're sharing, wow, how's that making you feel? And if they can begin to identify, wow, I'm really scared, or I'm really sad, just to be able to acknowledge the feeling, then you are with them, holding them. You're still up here, but you can create a safe container for them to feel heard. So that's the first step. The second step, after this person is feeling heard, you have an opportunity to possibly what they call break their pattern. And so when we are in a down spiral, down, 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 sometimes we get in that pattern and it becomes addictive. Negativity can become addictive, especially during a pandemic where, news and radio and Facebook and social media, there's so much negativity and it's contagious. And so the second step is to, once you acknowledge them, you also want to align with them. Align with them meaning, I really understand. I understand your sad. I get your sadness. I'm feeling some of that sadness too. Or, yeah, I know that there are riots out there, and I can understand why people are really angry and are really scared. And even if it's something, maybe they have something that they're sharing with you that you don't agree with, it's beautiful to use the word "and," because people hear that like, okay, you're hearing me, you're getting me. It allows you to connect with them. And so as again, you can repeat back to them. But that second step, it's brilliant, is if you're thinking that, wow, I could actually shine some light on this person, is that you can interrupt their pattern. And so once they feel acknowledged, they open themselves to you engaging in a way where you could ask them a question like, hey, and it could be something positive. Hey, did you see that piece where, a local person sent food to the workers? Or did you see that piece in the news where pollution is really down? Did you know that supposedly there are dolphins swimming in the canals of Venice? Okay? So the question is meant to what? Interrupt their pattern. So again, step one, have the person really feel heard, whatever they're saying. We want to empathize with them, align with them, let them know that you get them, maybe even ask them how they're feeling, and allow them to really feel like, wow, yeah, you're feeling some of that too, or you've been there before. Step two, consider breaking their pattern, asking them a question. It might not even be related to to the news, like a positive thing about the news. It could be something like, hey, how is that landscaping that you're doing? How is that going? If there's something that is positive in their life, you can ask them a question that will redirect their focus to something positive. Okay, so that would be the second step. What does that do? What we focus on, we feel. What we focus on, we feel. Okay? And just by asking the question, they might answer the question for a moment, they feel better. And then often, if they're really addicted to the negativity, and I don't even mean addicted, if they're really in that dark place, there's a good chance they're going to pivot back to the negativity. And it's I think that when we're in that place of interrupting their pattern, just asking questions, just because asking the very question that has a positive intonation or a positive feeling about it, there are questions that have an underlying positivity, and there are questions that have an underlying negativity. So asking the questions like, hey, are you doing anything, or can I help you with anything to help you with your self-care? Have you, considered putting essential oils in your bath? Like whatever it is that you could ask that question. So that's step 2. And then step 3 is, at that point, you might be able to ask them, something like, how could I better support you here? Are you interested in learning about some of the things that I'm doing that are making all the difference? Because when people feel heard and acknowledged, and you have really, made an attempt to ask them invitational questions that are more positive, just by asking of the questions, here's what I know for sure. You begin to close that gap. You're not coaching them. Let me be clear. You're not coaching them. And, as a coach, I find myself sometimes in that position, especially with family members. I'll come out and I'll ask them, hey, do you want any coaching around this, or do you just want to be heard? All right, great question to ask, because sometimes we just want to be heard. We just want to be acknowledged. So I think the biggest lesson that I really want you to get here is that there is absolutely no reason for you to feel guilty for feeling good. And I can tell you recently I have been experiencing some of this. In fact, today I was on a call with 2 of my dear friends and sisters on the path, and I shared with them how grateful I am, how abundant I feel, and noticing the simple things in life like clean water that I take for granted. And I see these images that are coming out from around the world and realized how blessed I am. And so in that, the conversation, part of the conversation started with that sometimes I feel guilty for feeling good when there's so much darkness right now. And I want you to remember, during this pandemic, it was a little thing, little tiny thing you can't even see, called a virus. And look how profound this thing that you cannot see has changed the world, has caused the world to stop and ponder. And so you too might be feeling pretty insignificant right now. And I'm here to tell you that you are as powerful as that invisible virus for the light, for positive change happening, for us coming out of this pandemic with more light, with a world that you would be more excited about living in. So it requires you to raise your vibration. And as you raise your vibration and raise your energy and raise your ability to receive more love, more joy, more pleasure, to expand out, as you do this, you open up energetic openings for others to do the same. So I encourage you to brace the good feelings. There is no reason to feel guilty for feeling good. And again, if you find yourself in that place where you're here and someone's down here, don't just try to pick them up. Start by acknowledging them, aligning with them. Consider redirecting their focus with an empowering question. And, just be the light. And that light sometimes is an invisible force. And each and every one of you has that ability to rise up, to really be grateful for all the things that you have in your life, and be the light. And I'll end with the concept of Marriane Williamson, who shared a poem. And if you haven't seen the poem, I encourage you to look it up online. and it is about being your brilliant light. And during these times, we need you more than ever. Please don't shrink your light. Allow your light to glow. Set it aglow. Set other people's light aglow. And in this, we will come out a better, stronger, more connected, global world. For at the end of the day, we all came from the same place. We'll all go back to that same place. And in this interim, called your life, I ask you, how bright can you make your light and shine unto others? Because at the end of the day, I believe we are here to give and receive love. And when you really get that teaching, you've done your part. You've done your part. So if you like what you've seen today, again, I'm Dr. Kelly Martin Shue, Amazon bestselling author, speaker, and dating and relationship coach for women. And I invite you to join me every Tuesday for Transformational Tuesday, where we're having these conversations to uplift you and to bring more love and light into this world. Be sure to like our Facebook page. And if you're needing more support, join me in a love breakthrough coaching session. It's my gift to you, especially during these challenging times. And let's identify what's holding you back from being your bright light. What's holding you back to attracting more love in your life. I'll go ahead and put the link in the comments. I love you, and love is your destiny.